Hey, I hope all is well with you. I am Leslie of Leslie Creations coming to you from my work from Hoodie. So, if you don't know me or don't know what I do, I am a plus size fashion designer. But I love to sew. I love to play with fabrics. So, I'll sew for pretty much anyone. But I do have an online store that I put things plus size garments in to sell. I think the link is in the description. If not, I'll try to remember to put it in there. All right. So currently right now I have been working on excuse me, a 30-yard challenge. And I have opted to kind of extend it and split it at the exact same time. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I got a boatload of fabric. I'm gonna flip the camera just a little bit. All right. I don't know if y'all can kind of see my closet. My closet over there. That closet right there. So you can see there is a big 4-drawer cabinet. 4-drawer and then the top lifts up. So that's 4 drawers. But they ain't counting the stuff that's above it, which is a lot of bolts. And there's a whole nother side on this side that you can't see. So I came across this 30-yard challenge when I was on Stephanie Canada's page. And it's being hosted by Pink Mimosa Janetta. I think I'm saying her name right. And so I, of course, part of the challenge is that you cannot purchase anything to make the garments. You gotta use what you have in stock in your person, whether you were giving it away or something like that. So for me, the only stipulation I did put on myself was if during this challenge I had to purchase something for a client, specifically for a client, that I didn't have to do any, it was okay. But if it's for my projects, if you have to purchase any, or if you purchase any fabric during the time of the challenge, you have to start the challenge all over again. So I haven't managed to start the challenge over. Well, I did in the very beginning because I seen this fabric and I couldn't help myself. And I've already made a garment out of the fabric. Which is unusual for me. I usually will get the fabric and be holding on to it for dear life, it seems like, before I make anything out of it. But this time I really wanted to make me a little dress that I can throw on and be videoed in, as well as be comfy and not be caught, the hem of it be caught in the rolling wheels of my chair. So that's what I did. But anyway, so I'm on to I decided to split this challenge up. So I am actually going to run 2 different challenges pretty much simultaneously. So that means my goal is not 30 yards, but 60 yards. Let's see how we do. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to do a little bit of a show and tell on the garments that I plan to have done and I'm working on right now. So what I'm doing is I'm doing basically 30 yards is going to be specifically for me, more so for me. I may do 1 or 2 things for my husband, but they're pretty much for me, stuff for me. Then the other challenge is specifically for my grandkids. I have a lot of 1 yard deals of fabrics, and I thought about it, I'm like, this is perfect for me to be able to do stuff for them, and I can't help it anyway. So I might as well start. because I thought of it late, I am not counting the, I think it's about 20 pairs of boxers that I have made for my grandkids, but I am going to count the last like 3 or 4 that I did. But I did probably over 20 pairs between the 2 grandsons. So here we are. So this particular project, I'm gonna try to make sure I record as much of it as possible. I do need to get a new thing to sit on top of my other tripod, because that tripod in particular is much better than the one that I'm currently using. Because this one doesn't have height, whereas that one has a good height, and I can position it in different places to be able to see a majority of what I'm doing. So today's project is a hoodie. I actually will be making 2 hoodies, but I'm only going to videotape this hoodie. So let me see if I can find, I don't know if I'm going to do both of them tonight, but see if I can find the actual pattern for this particular hoodie. Okay. Of course, because I'm looking for it, I'm not going to be able to find it. Okay. I'm not going to stress about it. Not going to stress about it. But it's a, I don't know what I did with it. I probably just threw it in the thing. Pullover hoodie. I am pairing it with 2 different colors. So here are the 2 colors. This is a solid fleece. It's a polar fleece. I think that's because it has a little bit more texture to this side. Has a little, as they say, nap to it. And then I have a solid here. So I've already done one of these, and it's in fact right there. And I thought it was really cute. It allowed me to get rid of 2 different fabrics that I had a while. Also, it gave me the ability to kind of think outside the box in how to utilize a small piece of fabric. So these are extra large. I know that I could probably do these smaller, especially for my 2 other grandkids, but I thought about it. Why? Might as well give them a little extra time with them. The one thing I did do some, I'm going to do another modification as well to the design. But for this one, this originally is supposed to have, a seam down the front. I laid it on fold so that I removed that. But this is part of the hood, so it's still going to be wide enough for their head to be able to put it on with no problem. And because I'm pairing 2 different, one's a little bit thinner than the other, I think it'll be fine though. I'm doing that. What else did I decide to do? I will be, for the cuff, I'm going to double check to make sure, but I'll talk about it on this one. So the cuff is a little bit smaller than the sleeve, but it is not an extreme amount. And I really wanted to I wanted to cinch in more, but I guess it should be fine. I can slip my hand in it myself. My inch circumference is a circumference of my wrist is about an 8. So it wasn't tight on it. I may take off another 1/4 of an inch to make it a little bit smaller, and it should be okay. What else? And I think that's it. I'm not going to, the design doesn't constitute putting a pocket on it. And I literally sewed or cut it up and only had one left, a little bit of a leftover. And I'll show you that real quick. So I felt that it didn't make sense to cut this into a pocket. Plus, I was trying to avoid extra additional work. But I had this much left. So I decided to turn it into a infinite scarf. And of course, this is perfect for the wintertime. Fall is here. In some states, it's probably here. In other places, it's still coming. As far as the temperature. But this is perfect. I may keep it because you see, it gives me, that's the one thing that I run or have an issue with is that I get cold really easy and I get more cold like it's my chest and my neck. So I like to wear scarves around my neck as soon as the temperature actually kind of just changes and starts doing crazy stuff. But this was the 60 inches wide and it's about 60 inches long and then about 8 inches wide. So this was perfect. And I went on and just serged the edge. And I know somebody gonna say, why you serge the edge? It doesn't ravel. It's about look. Literally, I did that because I think it looks better finished, and it just looks too plain to me otherwise. So that's why I decided to do it. So I'm gonna get ready to get started. I'm gonna work with because I'm telling you, I think it should take me. I'm gonna try my best to time it, but it should take me 45 minutes, I think. To get it done from beginning to end. Haven't sewn anything part of it. It's totally cut. It did take me a minute to cut it. And the only reason why it took me a minute to cut it was because I was trying to plan it out as I cut because I only had a yard of the checkered, the plaid version, and maybe about 3/4 of the other. So I had to really plan and be very strategic as to where I was putting stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions about anything I'm doing, I will try to make sure I put the actual link of the pattern, or at least drop a photo of it in so that y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, so y'all can see what I'm working from. It is an older pattern, and that's pretty much how I work. I usually work with older patterns. So here we go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I decided to do all the clipping that I could prior to even sewing one piece. So right now I am clipping the accent piece that is running the length of the hood. I don't have any of the markings that the pattern has. All I'm doing is just making sure that I clip it and distribute the distance across the cap good. Yes, I am sure that it'd be a great idea to do markings, but this is pretty straightforward, so that's why I don't have any markings. I clipped both shoulders of the garment. Now these two tan pieces are the cuff and the bottom piece of the shirt, which is doubled as well. I know probably you was wondering why I stretched them. It's because the pattern piece doesn't really, I didn't mark it, and I wanted to make sure that I'm doing the stretch the right direction, because I will need to be able to kind of pull it a little bit when I actually attach it to the sleeve. All right, so this is considered chain sewing. So I have several things already actually clipped, and now I'm going to go ahead and get started going ahead and serging them together. My cuffs, then the bottom band. After the bottom band, it was the shoulders as well as the hood. Fairly easy to kind of get through this. Just make sure you watch placement on your machine, knowing the distance from your far left needle to the markings on your machine to let you know if it's 5/8 inch. I do suggest, if you can, make maybe a additional marking in a color that makes you remember your placement. And this goes for most commercial patterns. It is usually 5/8 inch. Home sewers tend to use a 1/2 inch, but 5/8 inch is usually the traditional width. When I work on this cap, you will notice that there was some parts where the fabric didn't lay completely flat. That happens to help with the shape. So all I did was scrunch it up. The middle piece was flat, but the actual hoodie part had the kind of ripples in it, and all I did was stretch it a little bit, and it conformed to the cap just fine. You wouldn't even notice I did that, and that is just another word of easing excess fabric in. I decided to do a little top stitching on the hood where the accent piece was, to maybe give a little bit more details. So there is a twin needle set up on my regular sewing machine, and I just sewed the seams flat, and it was fairly quick. No necessarily special things to talk about. Anyway, I do apologize for not giving the best view. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out the best way or the best place to put my camera. And sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I get it a little off. Here I am clipping my hoodie to the hood to the hoodie. So it is a situation that I have to do a little easing as well. So I make sure my 4 spots are fixed, which is the shoulders, the back, and the front, and then I ease in the remainder. Whatever show I am watching on my TV must be awfully good because my head just keeps on stopping and staring. I guess I need to stop. Sometimes I get distracted and I need a little noise. But most of the time I am either watching YouTube or I am probably watching one of my CSI shows. Who out there likes CSI? So it may seem like it's taking me a while to attach this hood. And yes, I'm staring at the TV, but also the main thing I have to do is make sure that I'm distributing the excess fabric as evenly as possible so you don't have or end up with folds within the hood, which that's usually the reason why you have folds in the seams, is because you hadn't distributed the weight of the fabric evenly. All right, so now I am actually getting ready to attach or pin clip my sleeves onto the hoodie. With this, I just, because I don't have markings, I think the only marking I may have put in is a clip for the front. The sleeve is not really the way it is because it's a drop sleeve. It drops off the shoulder. It's not really a front or back on this particular one. So all I did was find the center of it, attach it to the top, attach or clip the outer edge, and ease in any excess from outside to the shoulder. That way you end up with a much more even sleeve and you don't see any ripples. Now, of course, I'm folding up the hem part in half. And here you can see me doing that technique of easing it in. And that's why I keep on taking my finger and putting it in between the 2 fabrics. And I'm doing that so that it helps me keep it even, I guess you want to say. I pull a little bit as I put my finger in between the fabrics and just kind of pull just a little bit. So you'll see a slight ripple, but not a big ripple. As I am sewing it, I am pulling it slightly enough for both the sleeve and the body of the hoodie to touch each other because there was a gap for me trying to set up the ease. Of course, we are rocking and shaking. Now I am doing the side seams. And the easiest way is to do the side seam as well as the sleeve. That's why I put the sleeve in first. When it's a drop off or off the shoulder kind of sleeve, it is much better to finish it off and attach the sleeve to the body before you actually sew the seam up. The only tops or things that you should do and set in for is jackets and blouses. And you don't have to always do it with blouses, or shirts. It just depends on the style. You'll you'll kind of know over time what works best for that particular style pattern. But for me, I know that shirts and jackets are best to be done with inset sleeves. Otherwise, you can kind of do the side seams and sew it all at the same time. I wish I had switched where I am doing this. Right now, I am attaching my cuff. This part is probably the most difficult part of the entire thing. And it's because you're working in such a small space and it's 3 layers of fleece. And that fleece sometimes, depending on how thick it is, makes it a little bit more difficult on certain sewing machines. My serger, I'm not gonna lie to you, every time I work with it, I just don't like it like the one I had before. It works, but I've only had it for maybe 4 months, and each time I work with it, I realize how much I love my old one that I had for probably 5 years or more. And this one it just works my nerves. And I think it has to do with jumping a brand because of the way they construct it. But I'm going to make it do what it do. And I'm going to move right along. All right, here's the second cuff going in. And the easiest way is to match the center of the sleeve with the center of the cuff, of course, and then the seam. And then I just stretch and pull and stretch. And that's where the somewhat difficulty happens because you want it to look nice and smooth. So take your time when you are doing this part of the attachment. We are at the last thing that needs to be attached, which is the hem. Like I said, the easiest way to kind of do this, like the cuff, match your side seams and then the center front and center back, and you just ease it in as you go. And all I did was I kind of pulled it at those main points and just kept on serging. We're done, I think. Okay. Whew. Almost can't get out the chair. All right. So with remnant fabrics, now one thing isn't done because I'm getting ready to look and see if I have any remnants to kind of do a piecing thing. So otherwise it is done. I think it's gonna be so cute. Trim the strings. It looks like it took roughly 40 minutes. I said 45. with moving stuff around and everything, I did, it's probably a little bit less, but here we go. It's an extra large, which is like a 14, 16 in a young adult or kid size. We have the checkered front and back, solid color sleeves with a cuff, which is so wonderful to put a cuff on and not have to worry about any hemming. And that's why it took so little time. Um, then we took and accented it with the strip down the middle. Like I said, the only thing I may do, I'm gonna double check and make sure I don't have any more of the tan or the other material. And if not, if I don't, what I'm gonna do is actually drop the hole down a little bit. I probably still will drop the hole down a little bit more because I feel like it's kind of close up, because that's what I did on the other one. And I'm just gonna probably turn it and do like a very narrow hem. I'm not gonna stress about it just yet, because it's done. So, all right, this is a great one. This is a great remnant buster. Put two different colors together and work it out. So it took roughly I think a yard and a half. And it's only a half because I did the sleeves this way and then part of the cap. So it was about a yard and a half or a yard and 3/4. Of the 3/4 was the tan and it's a yard of this. And then I still had enough to do an infinite scarf. So, all right, I appreciate y'all. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. You will find me doing many things, including alterations, which I need to get ready to do right now. So I will catch you all the next time. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Deuces.